Many thanks for staying with us right here on KBC Channel 1. You're watching Good Morning Kenya. This is Entertainment Thursday. And now we focus on our first segment, that is Future Voices, where we give the youth of this country a chance to contribute to matters that matter to this country, matters that drive national discourse, matters that talk about anything to do with governance, politics, business, everything else that pertains to Kenya. And today we are going to look at the whole aspect of youth movement. Now, from policy, from protest to policy. Now, the question we are asking today is, can youth movements actually govern? Because we've seen them agitating for good governance, good kind of politics, matters to do with economy. But if they are given a chance, can they hack it? Because in Kenya and across Africa, youth-led movements have kind of shown that they can stop government at its tracks, force policy reversals, and also reshape national debates, and also challenge the entrenched power. And in Africa, it's a continent that has the biggest number of young people. But a deeper question is coming out. When you look at these movements, really, they are built on disruption. Can they survive the responsibilities of governance? That is the question we are asking today. And for that conversation, I'm joined by Peter Nguta, who is a politician and youth leader. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Mike.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. Thank you for having me
Karibu
here.
sana, karibu sana. And also Naftali Seneti, who is an advocate of the High Court and youth policy advocate. Karibu sana.
Good morning, Mike.
How are you doing?
I'm happy to be here
Yes,
to talk
karibu
about
sana.
matters youth.
Yes. We're also expecting to have another youthful person named Emmanuel Magoba, who is a political scientist. Let's get into this conversation. When you look at today's youth movement and pegging on what we have witnessed on within this country, I'll start with you, Akili. If given a chance, can these movements that we are talking about, built on disruption, survive the responsibilities of governance?
Yeah. Actually, we have a right as youth to participate in governance, in political processes. And this right is enshrined under Article 55. And we also see the youth who have been given positions of responsibility, including the PS of Youth Affairs, Mr. Honorable Fikirini Jacket, is doing a great job. We also saw in the past government we had Nadia Ahmed also as a CAS. So we have seen youth in positions of significant responsibility, and they have actually delivered. So this is not something that we will only do in the future. It is something we are currently doing, and we are doing it well.
So those who have been charged with various responsibilities across various sectors, even within government, have proved that youth can do it.
Yeah, youth can do it.
What do you think, Peter, about this? Can they survive these responsibilities that come with matters to do with governance?
I strongly believe that the youth of this country have a lot of potential. They have what it takes to lead this country, to govern, and to be on the tables, to be at the tables where decisions are made concerning this country. We have seen in the past that very youthful people have come up and they have advocated for good leadership, and they have indeed led. Examples, you have examples from the likes of Babu Owino, to the likes of youthful leaders like Sifuna, to we even have a CS who is a youthful, the CS in charge of water, very youthful guy, engineer, and doing a very good job. He's a hands-on person. These are some of the youth, just to mention but a few, who have done exemplary jobs in terms of leading, governing, and showing the way where even the old folks have failed in the past. Yes.
You know, youth call for accountability. You can see that since 2024, the youth have been calling for accountability, good governance, clean politics. But given a chance, and they are put in those positions, would they still be accountable to the people who put them there? What do you think? Is it possible for them to be accountable and walk the talk instead of conforming to the system?
For the longest time, we've been operating as if there are not set structures for youth to engage and for youth leaders to be accountable to other youth leaders. But we know of the National Youth Council Act, and I was pleased to hear that the Cabinet Secretary of Youth Affairs in April 17th actually published a Gazette notice calling for National Youth Council elections. So there's an established structure in place where we can have elections at the ward level. Then after the ward level, we have elections at the constituency level. After the constituency level, we'll have youth leaders who are elected by not youthful members, but actually youth, to represent youth issues, and they will actually be held accountable with specific roles which have been given to them by the National Youth Council Act. There are structures in place, and we are working on that.
You know, there's always this question, Peter, that comes up. Yes, there are youth of this country, they are calling for those positions, but should they be given a position just because they are young?
No. It's not enough for you to be young to be given a position. As I've said, we have youth who are equal to the task. If I can take you back in 2024 June,
yes,
we had protests that were led purely by the youth. And this demonstrated that the youth are tired of being neglected. It's about the time that the youth are involved and became part of the conversations affecting our lives. We cannot be taken for granted because that has happened for far too long. So it's not only being a youth, but it's important that we get youth who have integrity, who are accountable, youth who can show that and demonstrate that they can work. And those youth are out there in plenty. We just need to be given the opportunities, and because the leaders, the old folk, have refused to give us the opportunities, we have decided we shall take those positions by fire, by force.
Let me ask, is it possible for the youth to conform to Chapter 6 of the Constitution, really?
Yes, it's possible. It's possible. Because if, on matters integrity, we cannot blanket condemn the youth. We have, as I've said, youth are there and they have the integrity, they are transparent, they can conform to the Chapter 6 of the Constitution. And all we need to be given are the opportunities, the empowerment. Because you find that we have been reduced to microbloggers online, whereby we have to cheer on politicians, whereby we have to be used as goons. And that has rendered youth as useless, because when you have not empowered this youth, when you give them 200 shillings to go and riot, to disrupt political rallies, to go and jeer and disrupt other people's meetings, now you are reducing this youth into a nobody. What we need to do are opportunities. Give these youth opportunities. And if you don't give the youth opportunities, the youth will take these opportunities for themselves without begging.
You've said something about empowerment. On Wakili, I want to understand, for a youth, what does empowerment look like?
Empowerment has a very specific definition, and the definition is, first, there must be an attitudinal, a cultural shift that gives youth more ability and also more agency and authority. That is youth empowerment. And we have seen several incentives which have been given to youth and several affirmative actions which are targeted towards the youth, because we realize that the youth are a marginalized group. And the Constitution, in its wisdom, realized this and secured a position in Article 55, requiring the government to empower the youth. Therefore, the empowerment of the youth is a responsibility of the government, and the youth have a right to it.
Do you feel like the youth of this country has been empowered enough to take up even leadership positions besides other aspects of empowerment?
it is an ongoing responsibility of all stakeholders. And for this, as people in the youth policy space, we call for youth mainstreaming. This is not something which is only done by the government. This is something which is done by the society. We believe, like, most chiefs are very young, yet they run their responsibilities in their locations with diligence and efficiency. So we have youth leaders who are actively working. And also, when we talk about matters integrity, specifically Chapter 6, how many youthful leaders have you seen who have been implicated in some of these corruption allegations? Most of it are older people, but for the young people, we know that these positions are rare. And whenever we get an opportunity to fill those positions, we do serve and we do deliver.
So there is hope.
There is hope.
You know, where do you draw the line between principled resistance and avoiding responsibility when it comes to matters of governance? You know, they want to get into the streets and call for policy change, maybe governance change. But then again, in the cause of those calling for those accountability aspects, people are maimed, some are killed, people's businesses are destroyed. Where do you draw the line between principled resistance and avoiding responsibility?
Thank you for that question, Mike. It's very important to note that these youth, when they go out on the streets, when we go to the streets to demonstrate and to agitate for our rights and to agitate for good governance, we are not the people who cause the mayhem. We are not the people who cause the chaos. We are suppressed. And in this process of suppression, people get maimed, people get killed, people get, so much has happened. So it's only fair that those who are charged with the responsibility of our security become responsible enough, become mature enough to give us the right to demonstrate, the right to pick, because that enshrined in our constitution. It's not that we are begging, it's our right. It's any person's right in this country to demonstrate in agitation for their right. So you cannot condemn the youth for what they have not done. It's the people who are charged with the responsibility who sent goons to come and beat people, to come and maim people. So if we got to demonstrate, it's incumbent upon the government of the day to provide us with security, to provide us with what we need to ensure that we get our message heard, we get our message delivered loud and clear. Yes.
There's a question I'll ask with regard to that, but we are also joined by Emmanuel Magoba, who is a political scientist. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
How are you doing this morning?
Very fine, Mike.
Yes. Umepata kama tumeanza conversation, and you know, the question we are asking is that can youth movements actually govern, given that responsibility that, you know what, you are asking for governance positions, political position, now ziko hapa. Can they survive that?
Well, good morning again. My name is Emmanuel, a political scientist. So I wanted to start by specifically saying that leadership is not a question of age. Leadership is about ideas, capacity, and accountability. And I strongly believe that both young people and old people can have the ideas, can have the capacity, and can be accountable. So I strongly believe that young people can lead.
Young people can lead.
Yes.
That is very important. And also, you know, we've seen protests since 2024, very prominent ones. But then again, you look at them now, they have died down, and some youths have even managed to be absorbed into government. So my question to you is, are the youth of this country shaping movements, or now we have come to a point where some of the youth are just defending political leaders?
Well, first, I'll bring you from a political science perspective. We have this theory, the iron law of oligarchy, whereby the proposer, or rather Robert Michels, advises that all movements, however democratic they are, they need to be structured. Without a structure, then that movement won't make any sense. And we've seen this in our lifetime. We've seen the protest in Nepal, Bangladesh, and then in Kenya. I mean, we go to streets, we argue about unemployment, about corruption, bad governance. But what have we seen after all these movements is that we are still facing same challenges. Unemployment has not been solved in Nepal, has not been solved in Kenya, and unemployment has not been solved in Bangladesh, same as to corruption and all these other features. So it is a call that beyond the streets, beyond the protest and all this charismatic authority that we appear to have, we need to still get the legitimate power. We need to still have the structural way of looking at things, because without the structures, without us coming to a realization that streets cannot give us policies. What can give us policies is by us sitting down, negotiating, talking about the problems that we are facing, and then collectively finding solution, rather than just going to streets, shouting, all those. So I still believe that we can get solutions on a table rather than on the road.
Wakili, if you look at it, influencing policy and maybe even calling for change, is there a danger of youth conforming to the systems that they want to change once they are given those opportunities?
I think that has been blown out of proportion. Because we know youth are members of society. Youth are participants in political processes. They go there to present their interests as youth and also as members of society. So if they are conforming, is because they have seen something which perhaps works or meets their interests. But looking at the broader scale, there is no evidence that the youth will conform. And we see that if the youth who have been given opportunities to lead, they have engaged in innovative ideas and have actually created a lot of change. Because
what do you think, Peter? Is there a danger of conformity when it comes to these matters? Given a chance, the system that you are fighting, you get into it and you just conform.
Thank you so much, Mike. The problem we have is some dishonest on part of the leaders. However, we have seen some youth who get into power, get elected, for instance, but they still continue to agitate for what they did even when they were not in power. We have seen people who got opportunities to dine with the government, to dine with the oppressor, but they refused. So we cannot use examples of a few to malign the names of the majority. So it's possible that you get into power, you serve the people diligently, truthfully, and without conforming to the powers that oppress the very same people you purport to defend. So there is a danger, yes, because when you get into power, of course, there are a lot of lucrative deals that you get into. There's a lot of persuasion. There's a lot of intimidation on other part, but it's still possible. It is still very important that people stay true to their calling and stay true to what they went there to do without having to dine with the oppressor or the people we are trying to fight and agitate for good governance. Yes.
You know, I'm asking this because we have political parties, and political parties have their own ideals, respective political parties. I'm asking this because if, for instance, youths joined the existing political parties without them even forming their own political parties, isn't there a need for them to, so to speak, toe the line, party line?
Well, party are organized in a structural way. And as I began by talking about structures, the existing structures. And all these structures, and by the way, parties are formed to capture power. I don't think there is a party that can just be formed for fun. Most of them are towards capturing power.
Yeah, but so they are formed on, well, ideals. They say.
We have socialists, I mean all those ideals.
Yeah.
But then I wanted to mention this. I feel like this is like a behavior I mean, how Emmanuel leads and how Mike leads, however much, probably one might be hiding his or her true character and then gets exposed in now that space. Because let me take you, recently I was in campus politics. Mike, what I saw in all those rooms, discussion rooms, and all those debate rooms, it's not far from what we see at national level. And we are seeing even some of those comrades taking up these positions, and they're not changing at all. I mean, look at how our campus politics are being organized. I'll give you an example of uni, maybe Moi University. You'll find there is a question of Kalenjin. Kiti yetu ni gani?
The tribal
yes,
things.
And how different is that from the national politics? I mean, we are talking about tuongezewe per diem, tuongezewe. I mean, it's all about money, even in those rooms. Remember, students trust you, students elect you to go and represent their grievances, but you get there and it's all about they need to add us the allowances. I mean, whenever there is an event, you must always hear cases of SG Litoro Canado. I mean, we have all those challenges. Mike, how is that difference from the national level? But still, there are those few individuals, I mean, there are select few individuals who always stand for the truth, who always fight for the common comrade, and that is what we even see at the picture. However, maybe 290 MPs might be a bit not so people-centric, but we might find the specific few individuals who know what took them to parliament and who actually act to ensure that they represent their people. So it's all about personal nature. It's not even about the conformity and the party structures. It's about the individual. It's about the individual, yes.
What about the aspect of following the party constitution? Because that has to come into play.
Well, but you must also know that this party constitution has been formed by individual beings. It's not that one person went sat somewhere and came up with a constitution. You find there is the aspect of delegates. Tell us what you want, and then from what you want, we can then give you according to the general constitution now, because everything must align to the good of the people. And then something else, I do not think there is that constitution that we can refer to as a bad constitution, because before it even gets certified, people have to take part in participation, and then the Office of Registrar of Political Parties has to come in, scrutinize that constitution to ensure that anything that is being discussed, it is for the well-being of the normal mwananchi.
Yes.
So I feel like individuals get there, they get corrupt in mind, and they start misusing these powers. And my friend Maxwell keeps telling me that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, yeah.
Very profound. Wakili, you know, we've seen movements here in the country, and even which led to protests. But at some point, the government called for dialogue. But then again, the youth said, no, we do not, we are leaderless, we are partyless, we are tribeless. But then again, they were being offered a chance to speak, a chance maybe to get into government. So how do you prevent, given that there are victories that those movements achieved, how do you prevent those victories from just being temporary victories or them being easily reversed? Because we saw them call for revocation or changing of the cabinet, it happened. There are things that happen. But then again, those victories, how do you ensure that they are not easily reversed?
Actually, what is happening currently is a negotiation. It's a negotiation between the youth and the people in power.
Yes.
But first, we must demystify youth leadership. It is not the first time youth want to access positions of leadership.
Yes.
We know Tom Mboya and Piogama Pinto, one of the founders of our country, they were youthful. And also, all the current active politicians have been in politics for 30, 40 years. they began politics while they were youth. So it is not new that the youth want to enter into leadership, as is their right. And right now we know we have the population to do that and to actually occupy these offices. And these are just matters of negotiation. They are political processes, and I believe the parties will just come down to the middle and settle somewhere at some point.
Peter, when you look at movements, sometimes they often fragment, especially after major wins. You know, so to ensure there is continuity, what structures ought to exist, especially for youth movements, to go beyond protest cycles?
Thank you, Mike. One, giving an example of the Gen Z movement that happened in 2024, as of then, that movement was leaderless, as we were saying. It became leaderless to a point whereby anybody wanted to be the leader. Anybody could say, I'm the leader of the Gen Z.
Yes.
We were not organized around some leadership. Yes, we had the ideals, we had the conviction, we had the power, we had the how to do it, but we didn't have the leadership. So I think first and foremost, one thing that we ought to have done, for instance, in such a scenario, would have to form a party. Because remember, these are movements that was centered around governance. And the surest way to get power is through political activities. As my friend has said, political parties are formed to capture power. If we had a party of our own, as a youth of this country, we would have sent a message. We would have sent a message to the people who are in power that we are coming for that power, and we are not begging. Now, we have been left at the mercy of those still old people who are the owners of the political parties that are in existence as of now. So, for us to ensure continuity of these movements, we ought to be organized around ideals. And beyond the ideals, we need to have, for instance, political parties. We need to have leadership. We, amongst ourselves, we could get leaders who can lead us. Because it's not enough to say we are leaderless. Then, beyond the leaderless issue, what are we going to do to ensure that we remain cohesive, we remain together, and we remain true to the ideals that we have envisaged before us? So one surest way to ensure that we are still coalescing around those ideas and don't fragment is about having a political party that is mainly led by the youth. Because when we are left at the mercy of the big political parties that we have in our country, they are owned by people who are old, and they really don't care about us. Those parties care more about how much do you give for party certificates, how do I know you, where do you come from, who is your father, you know? So that is what we have to do away with, because some of us are aspiring to be leaders. But now, when we go to the parties, we are asked, how do I know you? Where do you come from? Who is your father? How much do you have? So I'm left at the mercy of the people who don't care about me. So in essence, we ought to have had a political party of our own. That's one of the surest ways to ensure that we move ahead as a united team, as a united force that would have shaken the government and the establishment to the roots.
That is very important, because you've mentioned about coming up with a political party, but the question would be, would that have worked? We are going to explore that once we come back from this short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Kenya, and we are talking about can youth can youth movements actually govern? And this is with regard from a point of view of from protest to policy. And before we went on a break, we were talking about the aspect of youth forming political parties. And Magoba, question is, given what happened in 2024, had the youth made or come up with a political party, would that have worked?
It will have added to something positive compared to what we got. If we had a political party, of which adds to my previous point on structured leadership, I mean, we will have gone to the table with ideologies, working ideologies with references, because we'll immediately refer to our political parties, and that will have simply given us what we wanted. And I'll give you what happened by then. You remember after protests, the president went to pick some few people from Jubilee, which is a party. He went to ODM, which is a party. There were some other negotiations with KANU. We don't know where that disappeared to. So I strongly believe that if we had our own party, then that meant we would have been structured. We'll have moved from charismatic energy to now legal authority, or rather real power, the boardroom power. And that way we'll have suggested our own individual whom we believed that could have worked to the expectations of what we wanted. But without then that structured way, I mean, we got nothing.
Yeah, well, Wakili, you know, sometimes as people we claim moral authority from staying outside. But how do we remain accountable if we do not bear the consequences of our decisions? Case in point, for instance, failing to form a political party to give the youth a more better leveraging point.
There are certain preparatory steps which need to happen before a political party is formed at the policy level. A youth at Muhuru Bay in Migori just wants to be safe at night as he goes out to fish, while a youth in Mathare perhaps is trying to avoid arrest by police officers based on trumped-up charges. Youth are not a monolith. Youth have different interests. And this is one of the things that we have seen in the youth policy space, which I've been in from 2017. And I think the fear that we have in the policy space is that we may introduce these things into micropolitics. Well, but if we look at the broader level, what are we doing to develop policy which includes the youth from throughout Kenya? And I think more can be done at that level before we proceed to forming a political party, so that we carry along all the youth and also other members of society. And for sure, should we do that, we'll for sure clinch all the political seats in this country.
Peter, let's say if a government now aligns with the demands of the youth, do you still resist it, or does it now does it render your movement null and void going forward? Where do you fall?
That's a multifaceted question, because in what way is it conforming to the needs of the youth? For instance, we don't need to be given handouts. We don't want to be given tokens. Tokenism culture is very rife in Kenya, especially with the current government, because everything we do, we have to refer to the government of the day, because that's what holds what we want. For instance, when we went to the streets, we did the protests. How many youths, after the cabinet was reshuffled, how many youths were appointed to be CSS, for example? We only saw the old guard. People who were former governors, people who were former CSS, people who were former, so many people we saw who served elsewhere and were not part of the youth constituency. So we don't want to be involved through tokenism, through handouts. We want the real power. We want to be at the table. We want to sit at the table. We want to make decisions. We want to tell people this is what's supposed to be done. Because in essence, we are the majority. The youth of this country are the majority. Then we leave the power and the decision making to the minority who are the other people. So we need to be involved. Back to your question, if the government conforms to what we want, shall we stop agitating for? That's not.
Will you resist? Will you continue resisting the government of the day since they have, say, met your demands?
No, because the government of the day has not done that, we cannot say that we cannot resist. It has not shown that intent. It has not shown that willingness to conform to what we want. Even if they conformed, we still need to lead. We still need the real power. The only way they can conform is allowing us to lead, which they cannot do. And that's why we shall always continue to agitate.
So what I'm getting, your point is, even if they conformed and you are not in leadership position, you would still resist.
Yes.
Why?
Because these people don't understand what we want. The only way they can conform to what we want is, the only way they can pretend to conform is giving us handouts. And even if they did that, that's not enough. The only way they can do so is to ensure that they empower the youth, they create more platform for the youth to express themselves, they ensure that the youth can be given a voice to say what they want to say. And the youth of this country are able to lead. For instance, if I take you around the world, in South Africa, Malema was in ANC. When his issues were not, when the youth constituency was not being had enough, he quit. He formed the EFF. The EFF in South Africa has been vibrant. In Uganda, Bobby Wine went to seek power. He was denied. Now he's in exile. In Zimbabwe, Chamisa tried to overthrow Mugabe and now the current government. He never succeeded. That shows you the people, the old folk, the old establishment will never give power to the people, to the youth. And that's why even the question whether they give us the power should not even exist, because they will never do that. And that's why we are saying it's about high time we get into the real power. Because the government can appoint 1, 2, 3 people into positions. And that is supposed to show, to blindfold us to believing that we are in power. When in real sense, we are not in power. The youth of this country don't need any other thing. They want us to, they want to deal with corruption. Because corruption has denied millions and millions of this country opportunities. They want to add tribalism, because tribalism has dealt a blow to the prosperity of the youth of this country. That's why it's not enough to involve us. We want to be at the table again. And that's what I've always been saying. We want the real power. We want to have a president who is a youth. We want to have ministers who are youthful. It's not enough for us to be involved. We want the real power. That's the point.
What is enough in all this?
Yeah, I actually wanted to take quite an opposite direction from his point. I feel like if government delivers, or rather if government gives us what we feel is best for us, then, I mean, why should we be on the streets? If you want water and I give you water, why should you keep shouting? And I just wanted to explain this, how we came to the modern day democracy, or rather modern day governance. You find that in Thomas Hobbes' State of Nature, I mean, life was very brutal, short, and all those bad things. And men decided this is not the way we want to live. So men came together and decided to have an authority, or rather government, a group of people, to number one, provide security and give them liberty. Security and liberty, because with security, you can do business, you can do anything, provided your freedom does not go beyond the other person's freedom. And then with liberty, I mean you have that sense of belonging and I mean freedom in its all entirety. So once we have these two things, I mean we can do anything. In modern day governance, I mean people want, just as Wakili said, people want food on their table, people want clean, accessible water, people want affordable education, people want good medication, people want good transportation. So once we have all these necessities in place at an affordable prices for each and every commoner, then I mean that will be a good society. That will be a good society. On point of leadership and governance, I mean our constitution guarantees anyone to go for these positions.
Yes.
So long as you fit and you meet the requirements, the space is there. Go forth and compete. Get elected. I mean, we've seen young people being elected in positions, even though some of them have gotten there and in a way they've changed, but that is now their individual existence. So you find that these spaces are there. We need to go there and grab them, compete for this. I do not believe in positions, as my brother puts it, to be given a position. It's more sweet when we need to compete and then winner takes it.
Brother, I didn't say we be given positions. I said we need real power. I didn't say we go to the streets. You see, for you to agitate for leadership, you don't have to go to the streets. Going to the streets is one of the ways to do it. There are other ways of doing it. I didn't say we need to be given. We are saying we are coming for those positions. That's why leaders all over the world, in your country, young leaders have come up. When you look around your communities, you will see young people who are going from MCA to senator, to MP, to women reps, to governors, who are youthful. Even you will see presidential candidates who are youthful. So we are not believing in the art of being given. We are believing in going for what we want. We are believing in going there. When we want to take it, not to be given. Yes.
You want to take it, not to be given.
Yes.
Real power. Wakili, what does real power, what do you think real power means to the youth?
My brother wants power. Nataka power. But power means being present at the table.
Yes.
Power means being present in leadership positions.
Yes.
Power means being represented socially, being represented politically, and being represented economically. It is not only power, political power that we seek. We also seek social power and economic power. We want to have billionaires who are young people. And that's why it is very important to invest in innovation, to invest in talent identification and development. We have seen there are several young people who are very good in the creative economy. We have seen a lot of social media influencers and other youth who are working in the art space, and they need to be developed. So even as we seek this power, we not only seek political power, but we seek social power and economic power. Social power will get our interests met.
And you know, sometimes we're heading into the electioneering period and campaigns will be, they will reach fever pitch. But then again, there's an aspect of tokenism that he had raised. People using money to get, to be voted in. Do you see the same replicating in 2027 where the youth are given these the monies to just support other candidates other than the youthful candidates amongst themselves?
In the policy space, we see that as youthful exploitation because what is being exploited is the poverty of the youth, because we know youth are marginal. They're a special group. And by virtue of being a special group, we are at the lowest rank in the economic ladder. Many youth are unemployed and underemployed. would you honestly blame them for taking that 200 shillings, which they would not have gotten otherwise? What we need to do is to educate the youth to take that money, but not be influenced in making those decisions, but actually to do research and to get more involved in their leadership and get leaders who will actually change their lives so that they are taught how to fish, but not given fish for a day.
Being given fish for a day, Peter, do you see that still changing the mindset of the youth to elect responsible leaders, really?
One, the issue of tokenism, as I had said earlier, is very rife. Has been entrenched in our societies.
Yes.
For example, if you go where, for instance, where the government of the day is holding rallies, you will find there is some money sent forward before to go and mobilize the people. So that when the cameras are put live, we are seeing crowds. These crowds don't come by themselves. Some come by themselves, but a majority of those crowds
They're not organic.
are imported, are bought, because the government wants to send a message that we have the people. Now, if this culture of tokenism is that, first of all, that's corruption. Because where does this money come from? Where does a government get 20 million to mobilize a rally for a day? And these rallies happen day in, day out. So you can imagine the amount of money being spent on these rallies that don't end up helping the local people.
But don't you think the people are also enablers of these things?
Yes. These people, our people, can never be blamed for taking the money. Because, first of all, you have ensured this person is poor. One, you have impoverished this person. And now, you bring him 200 shillings for a day. This person came from their home hungry. They came from their home walking. They came from their home without anything to buy Panadol after being burnt on the day's sun. How do you expect this person to say no? You cannot blame the person who receives. You first have to blame the person who gives, because these people have to ensure that these people are poor, so that when we call for the rallies, they come. Now imagine a situation whereby these people were engaged in meaningful day in, day out activities. These people would not be available for the political rallies. We would be even having rallies online, whereby when you are at your hustle, maybe you follow the rally online. If we get to those levels. But because the government or the politicians know, anytime we call for a rally and we dish out 200 shillings and shillings or whatever amount, these people come out in droves because they are idle, they are jobless. When our country has a very high number of skilled labor, each year millions and hundreds of thousands or millions of people graduate from high institution of learning. You see, from universities, from our colleges, from our TVETs, people graduate, and these people are jobless. When you tell them to go get employed, where is the capital? Where is the environment for business? You know, whereby the taxes are skyrocketing. So you cannot blame the people.
Well,
you have to blame the people. You blame the government.
But are the people the enablers?
I actually wanted to add something on that, and I hope this is my camera.
Yes.
I wanted to address Kenyans on this, that the windmill always follows the direction of the wind. When these leaders come to you and you are like, Mheshimiwa Chai, Mheshimiwa Zamacho, they will definitely give you, but at what expense? At what expense? Recently, when President was visiting Kisii County, we saw a video of a member of parliament, and it was actually trending, giving people 1,000 shillings handout while standing on a road, on a road, untarmacked road, unkept road, and actually people were arguing, the moment you live here and it rains, no one will be able to use this road. But then they are picking this 1,000 shillings, which is coming from the coffers where that road was supposed to be built. So I still repeat, the windmill will always follow the direction of the wind. So unless we wake up and remind these leaders what they're supposed to deliver to us, we won't see any change. I also wanted to add on the aspect of us young people being in these competitive positions. Now imagine a comrade, a good student leader, well-kept, a good leader, genuinely good, gets to compete for the position of maybe member of parliament or even a senator or governor. And then you're going to compete with a millionaire. He's coming out, giving out 1,500, and then you have policies, you have good policies. I mean, it is like putting a lightweight boxer with a heavyweight boxer in the same ring, and you expect rules to be the same. So it's a clarion call to the independent bodies, the IEBC, is it ESC? Yeah, all those bodies. Please come out and protect us.
Yes, sure.
Come out and protect us, because it is your responsibility to ensure that the field is the same for a competitive run for these positions. So come out and protect us.
Wakili, how does, going forward, how do youth now influence policy, change mindsets in matters to do with politics, governance, and everything that pertains to the country?
Get involved. By getting involved, we need first read policy. Read policy at the draft stage, contribute to it, perfect it, contribute ideas which can make it better. Over and above that, offer yourself up for leadership. We need more youth who are candidates in elections for whichever position. And I think the more we do this, the more we'll realize that there are a lot of spaces for youth, but if only we take them. And I believe from what you are seeing in the recent few years, we know that the youth are organizing and the youth are going to take all the spots when the time comes.
Yes. Do you believe they can coalesce around a youthful person and propel him to power so that maybe the change that they are talking about can start to be effected or being talked about?
It is a fact. It will happen. It will happen. If you look at the census, 75% of Kenyans are below the age of 35. When we look at the between 15 to 36 years, which is what the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics reports on, we see there are about 36% of people in that bracket. This means that in the next, say, 10 years, we'll have a lot of youthful people in Kenya. And because of that fact alone and the consolidation of youth around other youth, we know that for sure youth will take up these positions of leadership. It is a fact. It is going to happen.
From where you stand, how do you see the youth influencing policy or even changing minds going forward, especially now that we are getting into 2027 elections?
The youth have been in the forefront in advocacy for governance. The youth are the majority. Every youth, for instance, now are on social media. And when you follow the conversations on social media, the youth are voicing out their concerns. What needs to be done, what we need to be doing, and we do that a lot, is on issues to do with civic education. That we tell our people that, please, even if you are given 200 shillings or whatever amount to vote for someone, take that money, yes, because we can say refuse that money, but it's not possible. Get that money, get that money. It's not possible. It's not possible to turn down money in our economy. We are in a bad economy. Get that money, but please engage your mind when you go to vote. Because when you go to vote, we vote once in 5 years. When you go to vote for those 5 years, you are giving a government the power to decide your destiny for those 5 years and for the future generations. For instance, if the current statistics are anything to go by, for 5 years, our budget each year is more than 4 trillion. That is a budget of more than 20 trillion in 5-year term. That's money that's going to define your future, to decide your future. So we have to tell our people, yes, you can take these coins, but when you go to vote, kindly engage your mind, kindly think a lot. don't just vote because of the 200 shillings that you have been given. And I've told you, some people have perfected that art of tokenism, whereby before you go to vote, I've seen it, that before you go to vote in that morning of the election day, you see money coming from quarters, and that money comes from some, you see, comes from such and such a party, you know, from such and such a party, whereby they are trying to already influence your way of thinking when you go to vote. So the youth have to come up and come out in large numbers and tell the people, please look, what you are doing now is going to influence the future generations.
Yes.
We need a country that's working.
Yes.
We need a country that advocates for industrialization, for youth empowerment. That in the, now we are in the era of AI. There are a lot of opportunities for the youth to take up that. And that can only be understood by a youthful leader at the top and also at the lower levels of governance.
Yes.
That's why it's very frustrating and surprising to see that even when we have the digital era, the AI, and what have you, the CS for ICT is still someone who really, that we cannot say understands what we are doing in the current era. We need someone there who can tell us how the future of AI, the future of digital era is going to be. You see?
I want to give you each 30 seconds because we are out of time. Each 30 seconds to give your closing remarks, and I'll start with you, Akili.
Yeah, good morning, Kenya. Us in the policy space, we do urge the youth out there, please participate actively in governance. Take those opportunities which come your way. And by so doing, we'll have more youth in these positions of responsibility. And by that fact alone, we'll have more youth who will naturally go up that ladder. And also I urge you to participate in youth mainstreaming. Youth mainstreaming means that you buy youth, you engage with other youth, and you look for other safe spaces where the youth are, and you try and relate with them. And by so doing, the youth will coalesce, and the youth will take up more positions of responsibility.
Magoba, 30 seconds.
30 seconds, wow. I'll finish it by quoting Martin Luther King Jr., who says that if it falls upon your lot to become a street sweeper, sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures, sweep streets like Beethoven composed music, sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry, sweep streets so well that the host of heaven and earth will have to pause and say, here lived a great street sweeper who did his job so well. So fellow youths who get those opportunities, who are already in those opportunities like Fikirini and all those other youths, please do a good job.
Do a good job. Peter, 30 seconds.
Thank you. I want to start by quoting the Bible. The Bible says when bad people are in power, the people suffer. I want to urge the people and the youth of this nation, please don't sit down and watch as our country goes south. Let's come out here, let's take those political seats, let's go for power, let's go for real power. Because through real power, it's the only way how we can influence change. Without power, without being at the table making, at the decision-making table, we cannot really influence power.
Indeed.
We have to go for that power. Let's go for those seats from MCA all the way to the presidency.
Very
and
important.
I'm sure we shall fill those seats, we shall have a majority, and we shall be able to influence the direction of this country, and we shall influence it in favor of the youth who are majority of this country.
Indeed.
Thank you so much.
Indeed. Mchukue power. Na mchukue kura, by the way.
Power.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I have been having a conversation with Naftali Seneti, who is an advocate of the High Court and also a youth policy advocate, Emmanuel Magoba, who is a political scientist, and also Peter Nguta, who is a politician and youth leader. This conversation ends now. Entertainment Thursday is up next with Eve Nyaga. It's time now to have a good time right here on KBC Channel 1. You're watching Good Morning Kenya. Stay with us.